Dave, great to see you. How are you?
You too, Sal. I'm well. Well, I'm okay, but no, I'm well. It's been a long time, and I remember exactly the time.
You told me. You said that last time we talked was at the David Bowie gig at Milton Keynes.
Exactly.
And, I do remember that gig quite well because that was around the time when he had Let's Dance, right? And
Yeah.
China Girl, all of that.
Everything was just like, I mean, the place was packed.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I can't even remember where. I know where it was, but I can't remember what the place was called.
I think it might have been called the Bowl, Milton Keynes Bowl.
Milton Keynes Bowl. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you say it was so packed because the thing I remember most is it took hours to try and get out of the parking, really, and back onto the motorway. So I think it was probably the very start of the 80s when in the music papers I saw an advertisement for this new fresh band that was coming out, and I thought, wow, that's really cool. They're going to be big, because it kind of looked like 4 versions of Adamant, really, but more serious and credible. And the band was Fashion. I probably had heard of Fashion when it was more of a sort of indie, little indie band.
They were a punk band initially.
Yeah. And I may well have even known that there was a new launch coming, because your producer, of course, my friend Zois Beheld, we used to meet up very regularly at that time. So he'd usually tell me when he was working on Dead or Alive or whoever it was. And I'd play him the latest Classix version that we'd done or something, and he'd comment on that. But then I guess I got to hear, first of all, Move On.
Oh yeah. When the voice comes from your head and somebody says, ooh, oh, ooh, oh,
and I was sold on it. It was like, wow, this has got all of the sort of electronic sound of that time, the vocoder. It had a nice funky beat. Your voice was very distinctive, and I liked it so much. I think I even came to see you in at Friars Aylesbury, I believe it was.
Yes, that rings a bell.
Yeah, Friars Aylesbury, and so it was kind of one of those shocks that you weren't the huge next big thing. I really don't know why. Have you got any perspective on that as years have gone by?
I don't know really. I mean, we had a lot of money spent on the band, basically more on the recording side of things, so we could record the album we wanted to do. And the strange thing is, the album went in at number 10 on the day it came out, and everyone in Arista was like, "Wow!" But it didn't stay there long. But we sold the singles, and I don't know why it didn't. I mean, it wasn't long after it was released that I stepped out, which didn't help.
I was looking at some old videos, and you were on all the good shows at that time, and I came across one clip which was a live performance on some TV show, and I noticed you were playing, apart from your guitar, you were also playing a wasp. And
yes.
That caught my interest, because I bought a wasp as soon as they came out, and so I used to use it on stage walking around. But the thing was, what people today don't appreciate is back in those days, we had to know how to program a synthesizer because nothing was preset. So if you didn't know how waveforms worked and all the white noise and whatever, you couldn't have a sound.
No. Trying to tune the oscillators badly when
That's right. You tune them slightly apart so you get the chorus effect.
And fatter sound and everything.
It's really a lost art. But I think you referred to something there which is poignant, and that is, some people had said to me, if Fashion had continued a bit longer, maybe you would have eventually got there, because you're making me reflect that with Classix Nouveaux, we didn't get a major hit from our first album. We had to wait till our second. And so you got to really stick with it sometimes.
Yeah, I know. It was, you know, I know, and I heard afterwards from the manager, sort of met up with the manager on Facebook and everything, you know, because it was bad. It was a bad split, and the record company, the whole thing was nightmare. But you know, I said, and he said, "Oh, Clive Davis was like raring to go on the next album and put a load of money into it." And I said, "Oh God, that's terrible." But at the time, I had to go. I mean, there's a lot of stuff involved that you know, and it was time to go and move on, as they say.
You mentioned moving on to the Rick Wright thing. So how did that happen?
I was in New York, and someone came along to me and said, I think it might have been in fashion, we did this thing called the New Music Seminar in either 81 or 82, and it was a load of record companies from all around the world and in a hotel there, you know, having seminars and all this sort of stuff, and bands playing. So we fashion got we played 2 nights at the I think it was called the Ritz at the time.
Oh yeah, we played there. I know that one.
Yeah, it was a good gig.
That was on Fifth Avenue. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great gig. And I met someone, you know, at the parties and things, and he said, you know, Richard Wright's getting a new band together because he left Floyd just under the wall and sort of walked out for a time, and he was in a bit of a mess. But anyway, this guy said he wants to do something a bit more not Pink Floyd, you know. So he said you'd be great for the, you know, to do it with him. So I said, well, you know, he said, I'm going back tomorrow or something, and I'll sort something out so you can all the people that are interested. That they'd already got some people interested, and we can have, you know, you can have a meet up in London. And so I got back, and so and so couldn't come, and so couldn't come. I said to Rick, well, why don't we, you know, I'm not doing anything, you're not doing anything. Why don't we do this as a 2-piece? And then we'll deal with the band if we need them when we're playing, or at the end when we're gigging. He's like, that's a good idea. And we wouldn't have to pay a lot of people, you know, because they're all pretty highly paid guys anyway. So so yeah, that I've skipped a bit, but that's how I met Rick.
So did the album come out in the end?
Yeah, it came out, but without many flags flying, you know, because the record companies knew that we couldn't, we were split into 2 different parties, and the press was bad. It sold okay, nothing magic.
So did you ever end up doing the Lamar one that you mentioned?
Yeah, so it was called Too Much Trouble, I think, and it was fun. I mean,
he'd already done Never Ending Story, but before that, I presume.
No, that actually came during the recording of it.
Oh.
He said, "Oh, I've got this song to go and record, Never Ending Story," and of course, you know, we said, "Well, great, go on, because it's going to be on the album." And came back, and I thought, hell, that's a good song.
I thought that was Giorgio Moroder did that.
It was Giorgio Moroder, and he mixed the whole thing and everything. So you know, it was just ready to go.
You've been doing some new music with Zeus.
Of course.
Every time you post something, I go and have a listen and see where it's going.
I like it. A couple of numbers on the album, which I thought the one got me straight away. It was Final Symphony with the electric, great guitar riff in that.
Yeah, right.
And plenty of room for heavy voice. I love Colour Me the Sky, because that's the last track, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Sky.
Colour Me in the Sky, exactly.
Yeah, I've got to have another listen all through it because it's a great production, by the way. I was thinking, listening to your album, and Sue and I were playing one from before, and the 80s feel was great in that. And in here, you can still hear it in what you've sort of programmed or asked for, whatever, but not so strong as it was. And the voice is great. It's really good.